Good to see y'all. Thanks for being here. Have a great and very exciting interview coming up this morning with Samantha Kriegshauser. She's CEO of Adult Enrichment Centers. Just a couple quick things before we start. The first thing is 1 week from today is our coalition monthly meeting. That's going to be on the 18th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we hope you'll join us for that. We're going to have a great presentation at the beginning on Advocacy 101. So make sure to join us for that. Lastly, just please introduce yourselves in the chat, share any questions you have along the way, and I'm going to pass it on over to Heather.
Well, good morning, Coalition. Happy Friday morning, and we are so excited to get started and meet our new friend. It's my new friend as of about 5 or 6 minutes ago, and I don't know if I've ever seen so much dedication as someone who's pulled over on the side of the road to meet with us. So Samantha Kriegshauser, who is the CEO of Adult Enrichment Centers, we cannot thank you enough for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So first of all, tell everyone, because it's kind of lovely, why you're in your car. And I'll say really quickly, you are technically, your organization is in South Carolina, but you serve so many North Carolinians because you're sort of on the border. And don't ask me to explain where. I'm terrible at geography, but I know that you serve both us in North Carolina as well as folks in South Carolina. But tell everyone why you're in the car.
Good morning. I'm Samantha. I'm in the car because I am headed to the Together SC, the nonprofit state organization, to be a part of a 25-person leadership cohort this morning. And when I accepted this opportunity to speak to all of you, that had not come about. So I'm pulled over safely, but I am sitting in my car, so I apologize if there's any technical difficulties.
Well, welcome. And I was joking that I bet you from your car, you might have better connection than I do sometimes from my home, but I think that really speaks to what we try to do. We try to amplify voices of leaders from throughout our community, throughout our state, who are both thought leaders and advocates. And so excited that you are starting a new program, and so touched that you took a moment out of this cool program to share with us. So we want to learn all about Adult Enrichment Centers and what you do, but we have a tradition here at Friday Facts where we always start with the first question about you. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and your path that brought you to a car on the way to a leadership program.
I was born and raised in Virginia Beach. My dad was Navy. We lived there for my first 16 years. I graduated high school at 16. Ran away to college, did that for 2 years, dropped out, ran away and married a man I'd known 6 weeks. He was Air Force. We traveled the world, had 3 beautiful children. We came back here in early 2000 and divorced. I am now happily remarried. My 3 kids live here. My son owns Knowledge Perk, the coffee shops, of which one just opened in Columbia, about 6 miles from Sisters of Charity, where I'm headed this morning. And then we have several in South Carolina. My daughter's in the medical field, and my youngest son is married to a nurse and hoping to find himself in a career path soon. I have 2 amazing grandchildren. Jackson is 10. He is on the autism spectrum, and Miss Jason Rose rules all of us as her little diva self, and she is 6.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you've had quite a path, and you went through that quickly. That is quite a journey. We have a history here, a reputation of doing a bit of stalking of our guests. I could say research, but I prefer stalking. And I had fun looking at your bio, and you talk about how you've been in the senior and different ability field for 25 years. I love how that was put, the senior and different ability field. What motivated you to go into the field and frankly stay with us in this field?
So my dad has been a pastor of a church my whole life. So I've always done volunteer work. I grew up going and visiting nursing homes back in the day when I was a little girl, but never intended to work in this field. Coming out of a divorce, I had been a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled her kids. for 15 years. I hadn't had a job since I was 17 years old. And when we divorced, I didn't have a resume. I didn't have a career. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anything. So I needed a part-time job to get started while I went back to school. And I started delivering Meals on Wheels. And the lady there offered me a position with the Council on Aging, running their meal site part-time, and I could take my kids with me and homeschool them in the afternoon. And it seemed like a win-win. And then I went to classes at night. And I did that. My kids sang gospel music, and we were singing, and the pastor's wife was the activity director at Adult Enrichment, which was then called York County Adult Daycare Services. She was leaving and told them they needed to hire me. I've never worked with seniors, never been an activity director, but they paid me $9 an hour and offered me 40 hours a week. So I took it. And 17 years later, so in this organization, I started out as activities, and then I became the director of transportation. And then I became the director of our Fort Mill location for 10 and a half years. And then I was the director of ops. And then 6 months before COVID hit, I accepted the position as CEO. So that's kind of my journey with AEC. Never meant to join it, but God put you in a place, and when you find what you're meant to do, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Oh my gosh, your story is fascinating. How you sort of fell into it in different experiences, and then you have really grown up or really continued on. I guess I just want to keep the attention on you, but I know we have to turn the attention onto the Adult Enrichment Centers, where you can share the programs. But I will tell our audience that in our stalking, and I held off in your title, I know you're CEO, and clearly you've had a lot of titles with Adult Enrichment Centers. But last year, we found you were also named you were on TV as one of the hometown heroes, really highlighting so much of the work. And there's just great video, and maybe we can link that also when we link this video. But you have done so much, and I'm so happy to see the recognition that's happening, both with your increasing responsibilities and now in charge, and also in your community. You really do. Let's be best friends for a long time. You seem wonderful.
Thank you.
So congratulations on all that. Now, I guess I want to keep asking you so many questions about you, but we'll turn it towards adult enrichment centers. And thank you, Virginia, for putting the website onto the chat line, adultenrichmentcenters.org. Oh, and she just put a link. Wait till afterwards, people, but just put a link to your video. It's really good. Tell us about Adult Enrichment Centers and the different programs that you run.
So we're a 501c3 not-for-profit. We've been around almost 40 years. We started out in adult day health care, which has the medical component of an RN on site. We can do everything that an RN can do, from wound care, trach care, medication, all of the above. So we get a lot of folks who have complex medical and comorbidities. We did adult day healthcare and still do. And then around 16 years ago, we were approached to add a program for adults with disabilities, and the families were just looking for a social model. We had space. We said, sure. It was a well-intentioned decision, but it was really short-sighted. We didn't know much about working with our neurodiverse friends, and what we thought was going to be just a part-time little social club ended up needing a whole lot more. So we kind of got a trial by fire, but we loved it. So for a number of years, those two programs were mixed inside of our three facilities. And we have a program in York, one in Rock Hill, and one in Fort Mill. And the mixing seemed like a good idea at the time. Looking back, it wasn't our best decision. They needed very specific things, and just the mix was complicated. Autism and Alzheimer's are not always the best of friends for long days, 8 to 10 hour days. So actually, we knew we needed to separate, but we weren't in a position to without having to say goodbye and displace a whole lot of people. And COVID did that for us. So for us, in this one sense, COVID was a blessing, because while we were closed for COVID and couldn't serve, we were able to separate out by license. So currently, my York location, which is licensed for 30, is adult day healthcare. And I have 4 RNs who oversee that program. And we're serving 30 a day, and we pretty much have a wait list to get into our York location. Rock Hill became our High Five, which is our program for neurodiverse adults. We can serve 70 a day in that program, and we're serving 65. That program is also morphing into what's called School of the Arts. During COVID, we had a number of our folks who had a loss due to COVID in their families, and we could not find grief counselors who specialized in loss like that for neurodiverse adults, some of who are nonverbal, various levels of abilities. And so that kind of brought about the need for a place for those neurodiverse adults to be able to express themselves and strong emotions. So we created School of the Arts. We've been in a fundraising campaign for the last year, and we should be in our new state-of-the-art building on Anderson Road in Rock Hill within the next year. So about September of 2024 is when we hope to be able to move in. And I say hope because construction is not for the weak. Our Fort Mill location, which is right on the line, we can be across the North Carolina line in about 3 minutes from our Fort Mill location. It was adult day healthcare. It primarily served some folks on Medicaid, but a lot of private pay members from all over that area. You know, Indian Land, Sun City, all of that has just been growing tremendously. During COVID, a lot of those folks and their families worked in Charlotte. They did not return because Charlotte stayed locked down much longer than South Carolina did. So that center actually sat empty for almost 9 months. That's when I went to my board and asked for permission and grace to be able to create Montessori for Aging and Memory. The Renew Center opened, it's been open just about 2 years now. And that came about from my years of teaching dementia education, working with families, and we get folks so late in the disease process that we're able to keep them safe, we're able to engage them some, but if we got in much earlier, I believe that we could make an impact in quality of life and even buy some quality time for folks who worked on, you know, basic skills and memory retentions and those things much earlier in the process. And I was very interested in Montessori. I did homeschool my kids. And so the two just kind of seemed to be a natural fit for me. Like blinding flash of the obvious, duh, why do we not let our adults with cognitive impairment explore the world, use self-directed activities, hands-on, and get involved much earlier? So we did. This is for early intervention only. I got certified in Montessori. My director of the program is Dr. Beth Scruggs. She's now a Montessori practitioner. We worked with Jennifer Brush and of the International Montessori Association, and that program is doing very well. It's not growing as fast as I would like. We spend a lot of time answering the question, why Montessori for adults? And also helping people understand that there is something for early intervention. Most people don't actually go seek a program until mid to late stage. And by then, yes, we can keep them safe and we can engage them and they can have a lovely day, but we're not making that impact that we want to. So we're spending a lot of time and money right now answering the question of why early intervention. So that's kind of our programs in a nutshell.
Well, and that was wonderful. And there's a few different pathways of questions I want to go into about the breadth of your programs. But you actually did ask the questions that, of course, we're going to ask too. And that's how we first heard about you, about why the Montessori approach or how it's different than, I guess, your standard or your typical dementia support and approach.
So Montessori, you go in and if you had a children's Montessori classroom, when you open the door, everything in it is designed for them to touch it, explore it, and they to kind of decide where they're going to learn today. And it's a self-directed classroom. With our seniors with early cognitive impairment, they may not always come in and go straight to something, but we have very simple signage. So we would spend a lot of time and effort on designing the space. So everything in our facility is nature inspired. There's very little artwork. It's designed to be less busy. In adult day healthcare, it's all about rah, 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 let's party, let's keep them busy. The atmosphere is upbeat. It's all the time. And that works well in adult day, but Montessori is a much slower pace so that their brain has time to help them make those decisions. Our with cognitive impairment and specifically Alzheimer's, we're slowing down just a little bit, but we don't need to be talked to like we don't have a brain at all. We just need a moment longer to process information. Eyesight is affected, peripheral vision, how we perceive color, those taste buds, all of those things. And so this environment was designed to help them not have to focus on a very busy, loud, overwhelming environment so their brain can actually focus on an activity. Picking a role. So we have a gentleman right now who was an engineer and he worked in the safety field, and he's pretty functional in most of his daily activities, but he's retired and he really misses feeling useful in that role and his comfort zone. So he came into our facility, and after doing some assessing with him, we discovered he can still read the written word, and he needs to be engaged, but he wants to feel like he has something to offer. So he became our safety inspector. So he has a clipboard and he has a list of real tasks, and he performs those daily to ensure our building is secure. And then monthly, he has a longer list. And so this is part of his day and part of his role. And it has really helped calm his anxiety without needing to use medication, because he believes that he has a purpose and a role, and it's useful to us as well. We can do that until they can no longer. So having that signage in the center invites them. So it may be a table with books on it, and it says, read a book. It invites them to do the activity, which then they can self-direct to do. But also it lets us know when they're no longer able to process the written words. We have people who can read, but it doesn't invite them to do anything. Without the next level prompt, they're not going to pick up a book and read it. So part of that is all built into the assessing process so we can see progression of the disease in their daily activities.
Oh my gosh, this is really, really impressive. And you all are equally impressive that you turned a bit of your program design to take on the Montessori approach and to redesign. Because when I think about adult day health programs, I would think a number of those participants also have cognitive issues and brain changes. So the fact that you had one model and then completely embraced a different model, how do you decide which participants go into which program?
Through our assessment. So we have our nurses and our staff, and we do, the assessments as folks come in. We get the physician forms, all of the above. But it's an assessing process. And we do have people who come and want to attend Montessori, but who are really, truly more middle to late stage. And so they're not Montessori appropriate. So having another place that we can refer them to is helpful. We're getting ready to open a fourth location, and it will also be in Fort Mill, so that we have adult day health in Fort Mill. So when those folks are no longer Montessori appropriate, they can go to that location and we can continue to serve and meet the need. It is hard to tell a family that the person is no longer appropriate for services, and I hate to do that without having a place to send them for resources.
Absolutely. Well, I really see you living into your motto. Two things. When in your motto, I saw that the term "we see more opportunity, more creativity, more possibilities." And what I love about that "we see more" is you're looking at everything that will be engaging and meaningful. But you also talk quite a bit about on your website the importance of building an inclusive community. And to me, when I hear all these programs, I mean, I was going to ask, what is an inclusive community to you? I'm already hearing it from you in that you're finding all kinds of community members to include in all different ways to include them. But here, I just put my own observation. What does inclusive community mean to adult enrichment centers? Because I see you living out your mission.
Well, diversity, equity, inclusion is a hot topic right now, as it should be, and we all know that we have a lot of work to do to make that true for every person. But I also think sometimes it stops short. Um, it should be diversity, equity, inclusion, acceptance, and then the ultimate goal is belonging.
Yes.
It's not enough to check a box and say I have, brown people and white people and any color people, and I have whatever sexuality you choose to be. That's not enough. And we used to say, have a seat at the table. Okay. But if I don't have a voice, if I don't belong at the table. So I think it's just taking that where we've started and taking it one step further. And I believe that we sell people short. We look at someone of a certain ability or someone of a certain color or someone of with an Alzheimer's diagnosis or aging, and we think that they have nothing left to offer, and we make those assumptions. So we've built out our new blueprint for inclusion, which is kind of our comprehensive plan for the next 3 to 5 years that touches on everything. And we're using pets in that blueprint for inclusion because pets don't care. Pets make no assumptions. Okay. You can rub your dog's head and your body language is giving him love and attention, but your words could be, you're a worthless mutt, not good for anything. I don't, you could say it, but he's responding not to the words that you're saying. He's responding to the touch and the emotion and that feeling. And so pets teach us a great deal about acceptance and inclusion because they have no judgments and they make no assumptions.
Oh my, okay. Well, I just keep saying, oh my gosh, because I'm so impressed with all that you're doing. And I was in the operational space for many, many years. And so I really know how complicated it is, but also how much joy. If you watch the video when you were being surprised, honored, there's so much joy. And that was in your high five program. I have a question, because I know we only have a few minutes left, about your upcoming priorities. But I already know one priority I'm curious about, and you and I have something in common. You are making a dream that I have come true, which is you bought an ice cream truck.
I did.
You were so close to buying one during the pandemic. Tell us about that program and Daily Scoops.
So we have actually closed that program because we are going into what we hope to be a brick and mortar for Daily Scoops.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a realignment. But in the middle of the pandemic, my son sent me a text and he was being funny and he said, here's an ice cream truck for sale. And I got a wild hair and drove to Lancaster, and that afternoon returned home and informed my board that we had bought an ice cream truck. We know nothing about ice cream. But the goal for the ice cream truck was to have an inclusive employment. So a lot of people employ people of diverse abilities, but they either employ people of diverse abilities only, and I bring to mind Biddies and Bows. Biddies and Bows is fantastic. What they've been able to do by putting it on the national scene, the employability and the workforce that is out there of our folks with neurodiversity is insane. My one issue with Biddies and Bows is they stop short of being truly inclusive. They hire only people with disabilities. What I'd like to see is people of all abilities working together, disabled and non-disabled, in a competitive wage situation. So for me, that would be true inclusion. And the ice cream truck was that. We employed people of all abilities on our truck, which is what our intention is to do in our brick and mortar.
Okay, well, great. So that is still moving forward. And
it is.
Other fun priorities, and I say fun just because they all sound so wonderful. You shared a little bit. You're opening, you have a new building opening for your high five program. You have now an ice cream shop that we all need to come and visit when it's open. Other priorities that you're looking at, that I would be fine if you just stop there, but if there are other things you want to share with the coalition.
Can't stop there. So we are operating School of the Arts now, which is our high five club, but we are building that building, should be open the end of 2024. We just signed a lease and I've started the building upfit, met with the architects yesterday for our 4th location in Fort Mill. That will be our adult day health care to run alongside of our Montessori program. And my ultimate goal for the next 3 years is to take our current Rock Hill location when our new building is open and knock it down because it's very old and has a lot of problems, and create some type of programming for aging neurodiverse adults. We have our neurodiverse adults who are living longer with better medical. We've pulled them out of institutionalized living, but we literally have no idea what Down syndrome, autism, or those things look like as they're aging. We do know there's a dementia specific to Down syndrome. I just got certified as a regional trainer in the IDD dementia population because it is basically a very unresearched field we know very little about. And so we have all of these aging adults on the neurodiverse side of the world and know nothing and have no long-term plan for where they go as they age. We don't have enough group homes. They cannot go to nursing homes. So we need to figure this out.
I love how you are completely embodying your inclusivity in terms of your mission and how everything that you're doing connects back to that sense of belonging, that sense of meaning, that sense of engagement. So excited for you to be a part of the coalition. And Virginia and I spoke with Samantha, so I'm telling the rest of you, because you're right there on the border, joining both the North Carolina Coalition, the Serious Illness Coalition, as well as our sister coalition, the South Carolina Coalition for the Seriously Ill. Their name is similar to ours, but a little different. Other ways I'm trying to think about how we can connect. What can we do as a coalition? We do so much trying to engage caregiver support, patient engagement support, education with clinical providers, as well as sharing the needs of those who have chronic illnesses and serious illnesses. Are there ways that we can work together to help promote and amplify the work that you're doing?
I think it's opportunities like this where I get to speak to you in a group and let you know that we're out here and there are services. And I think there will be more services coming that focus on things like early intervention, because we know our folks with Alzheimer's and dementias often have developed other medical issues as well as they progress through this. So we would appreciate just helping us spread the word that there is programming out here.
Well, that we can do. We definitely have abilities, and already I know Virginia shared with you before we were on. Please share us information, share information about your different programs, and we can put it out through our website. For our audience, take a look at the website, Adult Enrichment Centers. You have the link. I would argue to say you're not just a hometown hero. We shouldn't just say the word just, but you are a statewide hero. And I'm thrilled to know you are actually heading to a statewide leadership conference or a leadership cohort program. I can't thank you enough for being on our Friday Facts. I know there's a comment in the chat line. You've already brought tears to some of our audience, some of our members. And really thank you for everything that you're doing to help promote a meaningful life for all. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you all for what you do in your day-to-day jobs. It takes all of us, as you know, to be able to serve those. And so thank you for what you do.
And Samantha, I will tell you really quickly, because I know you're in the car and it might be limited on your phone. You just got a beautiful note from one of our members, Charlotte Sweeney. Samantha, your work is revolutionary, exciting, and timely for the needs apparent right now. Thank you so very much for exploding my brain with your creative approaches, groundbreaking challenges, and answers. And you're getting all kinds of thank you on the chat line. I'm not sure what
thank you.
You have started our Friday morning with raised awareness, smiles and tears, knowing that there are people out there like yourself, specifically you, doing such meaningful work. And thank you for including us in your journey as well. Oh, we just lost you. Now you're muted. I see you're unmuting. I know it's very hard to come off mute with the phone. There we go. Oh, you're still on mute a little bit. I know.
Okay, am I
there
off?
We go.
I'm sorry, I am not the best tech person, and in the car it's complicated. I just wanted to say I hope you all have a blessed Friday, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Samantha. Safe driving.
Have a good day.